Okay, so is Donald Trump gearing up for a real war? I mean, with guns and everything. That's the elephant in the room, isn't it? You've heard him talk about making Canada the 51st state. He has also talked about taking Greenland. I think most Americans dismiss this and think it's just bluster. Some people think it's funny. He must be joking, right? But let's assume we take him seriously because that's what you're supposed to do when the de facto leader of the free world speaks. Let's not act like it's normal that we're just sitting there every day choosing to ignore like 70% of the rhetoric coming out of the White House. So let's assume we take him seriously. Here's something interesting that caught my attention this week. Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, he was speaking to Fox Business the other day about the reason for the 25% tariffs on all imported aluminum and steel. Those tariffs came in yesterday. Obviously, as a Canadian, this impacts us very acutely, right? The US gets 23% of the steel they need from Canada. They also get 60% of the aluminum they need from Canada as well. Ottawa obviously has responded accordingly. So has Europe. Mexico is waiting for some reason. Obviously, we know that the Trump team considers steel and aluminum as essential products that must be made in the United States for national security reasons, right? Along with semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. Anyways, here's how Howard Lutnick explains the reason for these tariffs.
So I think the president views steel and aluminum as fundamental for our national security. I mean, we can't be in a war and rely on steel and aluminum from some other country. I mean, it's just not reasonable. So the president wants steel and aluminum in America. And let me be clear, nothing's going to stop that until we've got a big, strong, domestic steel and aluminum capability. And by the way, he's going to add copper to that mix too.
With the Trump team, it's kind of difficult to pinpoint how far they're willing to play this game. Obviously, you kind of see the shifting goalposts here. First, the tariffs were about fentanyl. Some people still believe this whole saga is about fentanyl, you know? Then, of course, the tariffs were also about borders at some point. Remember that? Then they were about the trade deficit with Canada. At different points, these tariffs have also been about reshoring manufacturing. But this I find very interesting, right where he says we can't be in a war and rely on steel and aluminum from some other country. So let's talk about that a bit more, right? Who is the United States going to war with, though? Like, who are they going to war with? I know it looks like the US is at war with every single one of their allies these days, but is Donald Trump preparing for a real war with guns and everything? What does Howard Lutnick mean when he says we can't be at war and rely on steel and aluminum from some other country? Suddenly, all that talk about annexing Canada doesn't seem like a passing joke anymore now, does it? As of the last Trump tweet I saw, Canada is not at war with the US. Yeah, we're in a trade war, but you know what I mean. Suddenly, people in Greenland are also looking a bit more concerned, right? He's talking about sending troops over there. Those people in Greenland just want to be an independent nation. That's all they want. They don't want you to take them and bring them into the United States. But I wanted to talk about this. Who is the United States most likely to go to war with right now? Maybe Russia, maybe China. I say that, but obviously we've seen Donald Trump talk about all the things he and Putin went through with the Russia hoax, as he likes to call it. Obviously, you just know the US wouldn't go to war with China. Not directly. That could mean the end of life as we know it, right? But let's entertain the idea that the US is preparing for a mega war. Let's say Trump is looking at the fact that the US didn't get into any new wars while he was in office the first time, and he wants to make up for it in a big way. Maybe he's looking for a fight. Let's say he's actually preparing to fight Russia and China, maybe both at once. You never know, right? All this bragging coming out of the White House, they're tough guys in there, you know? They're so tough, they're tougher than any human being you've ever seen. You take away that artificial ocean in between the continents, what they could do to Russia in 2 weeks, ooh-wee. It'll be like nothing you've ever seen. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking, okay? Please don't start World War III. But let's say this is about being self-reliant in case of a war. So you're telling me the big brain idea here is to impoverish the countries that are most likely to fight side by side with you in a war, like Canada has done several times. That's really how you cater to national security? Is it really a good idea to piss off the Europeans? Because, you know, the US is also putting tariffs on Europe as well. I saw recently that there are some veterans here in Canada who fought in Afghanistan that are very hurt by this whole rhetoric, this whole annexation of Canada talk. So today you might argue the US is weaker than it was when President Trump took office. You're pissing off your friends. You're calling at least one of them your 51st state. And you're impoverishing your people. You guys have seen the recession forecast. Like, even Trump hasn't ruled out that there could be a recession. His team has said the whole thing will only be short term. They've said you should just look at the first 2 quarters of this year as Biden's record. They've said things will start to look up in the 3rd and 4th quarter of this year once Trump's policies start to work. Watch them move the goalpost if things don't improve, right? Just watch that space. They'll probably blame the Biden administration for the next 4 years of their term. All I know is that before Trump took office, I was sitting on some hefty gains from the stock market. They've killed my gains, you guys. Like, today, inflation is up, unemployment is up, and apparently you guys are supposed to shut up about the price of eggs. It's short-term pain for long-term gain, okay? I swear it feels like they're making shit up as they go. Also, I don't know about you guys, but the more I hear this Howard Lutnick guy speak, the more he just comes off to me like a real scumbag. Like, he's talking out of one side of his neck about lowering the temperatures so that negotiations can begin with Canada. On the other side of his mouth, he's perpetually escalating. Like, there's this very irritating condescension to his tone. It just irks me every time, every single time. Like, very scummy behavior. That's just my impression, okay? I obviously don't know the guy, but you guys and girls out there can get to know this guy, right? So please subscribe and join the conversation. I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.